If you're visiting London this year, then these are some important things you need to know before you come. Now, I published a video like this about 3 years ago. Maybe you've seen it already, but this video is going to be an update of some of those ones and also some brand new ones as contributed by our community. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Jess and I make videos for people who are coming to visit London, and I have a special freebie for you at the end of this video. If you like to have your coffee and tea on the go, well, London is moving away from giving people those single-use coffee cups, and actually a lot of coffee shops will give you a discount on your drink if you bring one of those refillable cups. So either bring one of those around with you, or you could just take it as an excuse to actually sit down and relax and enjoy your tea or your coffee from a proper mug. Okay, let's do a couple of basics. So the currency in the UK is the Great British Pound, or we just call it the pound here. And this is the sign for the pound. And you will get 100 pence or 100p, that goes into a pound. What was the other thing I was gonna say? And if you hear anybody say quid, that's just slang for pounds. So if they say 5 quid, it means 5 pounds. The smallest paper note in pounds is 5 pounds, and then in coins you have 2 pounds, 1 pound, and a bunch of other numbers below 1 pound that we can pop up right here. In the UK, they drive on the left-hand side of the road, and because most people who come to visit London are probably not used to that, then the city has put markings on a lot of the pavements at intersections saying whether you should look left or look right so that you can stay safe. The underground train system in London is called the Underground or the Tube. It is not called the train or the subway or the metro. You can't pay with cash to use the transportation system here in London, so you'll need either an Oyster Card or a contactless debit or credit card to be able to use the system. And if you're not sure what an Oyster Card is, which is the recommended method I would say that people who visit London should use, then I have a video that will explain how all of that works and what it is, which you can find a link for in the description box of this video. Amber contributed this one, and I completely agree. If you can avoid using the tube at rush hour, then do. It gets very, very crowded at rush hour. And if you're only going to be going a couple of stops, then I would just consider trying to walk that distance and not having to brave the craziness that is the underground at rush hour. If you can't avoid it, of course, that's completely fine, but you need to give yourself extra time, because usually what happens is you end up waiting and a few trains will pass before you can actually get on. The tube map is not a good indicator of how far two areas are from each other, so you'll definitely want to be using either Google Maps or Citymapper to figure out how to get from point A to point B. I like both of them. Citymapper is great because it gives you the cost of each of the different options that you have for getting to point B, but Google Maps is better for walking directions, and also if you have my 3-day London itinerary, that digital map is incorporated to Google Maps, so I would just use that. It's a lot easier. Laird contributed this one, and I say it all the time, nobody realizes until they get here just how big London is. So even if you're sticking with only seeing some of the most major attractions, you could be hopping all around the city to get to those. So what you'll want to do is make sure that you're making your daily itinerary and grouping things together that are close together. Otherwise, you could be spending a lot of time on public transportation. If you'd like an itinerary that's already completely made for you, then check out my 3-day London itinerary, and there's a link to that down in the description box of the video. Tipping is probably done here differently than wherever you are from, and I have a whole guide to tipping in another video, which you can watch after this, which will give you all the info you need. But just to give you a couple quick tips, you will definitely need to tip when you're at a restaurant as long as service charge is not already included in your bill, and you do not need to tip when you're at the bar or at the club. If you're not British, you might not know the difference between a pub and a bar. A pub tends to be a pretty casual affair. They're actually quite family friendly because most of them serve lunch and dinner, and there's a really big food focus along with the drinking. Meanwhile, bars tend to not open till the evening. They're much more about cocktails and drinks and sometimes dancing, and they're definitely not family friendly. Tax, or VAT as it's called here, is included in the price of things. So the number that you'll see on a menu or on a price tag is what you're going to pay on the bill or at the register, or at the till as they call it here. Autumn contributed this one, and it's to have change with you to use the public toilets. So it's quite popular in Europe that you'll have to pay for public toilets. And if you really have to go and you end up going to one that does not have a change machine by it, you're gonna be really upset that you did not listen to this advice. So make sure you have some coins with you. You should definitely try some British food while you're here in London. But the great thing about this city is that you can get so many different types of cuisines that you might not otherwise be able to get at home. So I would definitely encourage you to try something different that you might not otherwise. A few of my favorites that I've tried here are Israeli, Sri Lankan, and Syrian. There's no best time of year to visit London, so it's gonna be up to you to decide what's gonna work best for you. For example, if you're on a major budget, then you're gonna wanna come in January or November when flights and hotels are generally a lot cheaper. Or if you just love nice weather and want to hopefully try to have some nice weather when you're here, then you'll want to come in the summer. But of course, the trade-off is that everything's going to be a lot more expensive and a bit more crowded too. Since it's going to be your first time to London, then you should grab my free London 101 guide. It tells you everything you need to know before you get here, on top of what you've already learned in this video. And for more tips for your trip to London, you can click the box that's popping up right below me for another video. The underground train station, her video. And if you're not sure what an Oyster Card is, I'm just like not in the groove today. I don't know why.